Hey, Shalom. First off, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rukakodash, Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls God, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. I want to give a double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone who has told me this truth. I want to give a peace and blessings to the Akim across the four corners of the earth who teach this truth and we're still allowed to do so. It's going to be a quick video. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Lord willing, you Akim get something from this video. Man, I was thinking, you know what I mean? I was thinking for the last couple of days, and I was thinking about the so-called black dollar, okay? And, when you're in this truth, you understand that, Israelites are under the curses, But this article right here, this right here shows the curse, a specific curse that I'm gonna bring out in Deuteronomy to kind of match this article. Because when you read through this, right, I'm gonna read through it for you, Akim. When you read through this shit, you know what I mean? It's low key embarrassing, man. This shit is embarrassing. And so as far as on the so-called, in particular the so-called blacks, that community, our community, it's shit is embarrassing, man. And what happens is that you get to see people ask why. Well, how come the so-called black community? How come they don't have this? They don't have that. We don't have a certain amount of things for a number of reasons. Ultimately, it goes back to the curses, But we don't have our own land for a reason. Okay, we don't have the majority of the businesses in this place because this place is meant to be our captivity. Okay, these are the curses, man, that our nation, and not just the so-called blacks, but the so-called Native Americans and the so-called Latinos, we all have partaken in this. Okay, scriptures tell you that Judah and Israel shall be oppressed together. And when you look at America, who's oppressed here? For the most part, the so-called blacks and the so-called Mexicans, man, and the natives too. The so-called natives too. But let me read through this article, man. This is an article from Community Black. The Black Star Project. It says circulate black dollars in the black community. Okay, check this out. It says the Black Star Project launched a campaign to raise awareness of how we spend money and how that money spent shapes our communities. Check this out. It says blacks in America have about a 1.3 trillion gross national income. Gross national, so not even net. Gross national income. Only 2% of that money, about 26 billion, is recirculated in the black community. So only 26 billion of that money is recirculated. Okay, now 1.3 trillion is not a lot. Okay, amongst a nation of people. Okay, that's not a lot. Okay, that's not a lot. You got one man. I think his name is Jeff Bezos. If I'm not mistaken, he's worth. No, I don't think he's worth in the trillions. I don't think he's worth in the trillions, but that's not a lot for a nation of people. That's not a lot for a nation of people. Not at all. Okay. Check this out. It says, how long does money stay in the various communities? Check this out. It says a dollar circulates 6 hours in the black community. So that means every 6 hours, a so-called black person, right, is spending money. A dollar circulates every 6 hours in the black community. Okay, now check this out. 17 days in the white community, which is Esau. 17 days in the white community, a dollar circulates. Okay, let's go down to so-called Jews. Right, this is 20. This is the third bulletin. It says 20 days in the Jewish community. Okay, and then 30 days in the Asian community. Okay, which you can link up, the so-called white and so-called Jews, because they're They're both Edomites, you know. They both Edomites. But look at it, man. Just look at the difference. You're talking about hours versus days, you know, versus weeks in a month. Come on, man. You know, check this out. It says the Black Star Project is working to change this narrative. For the full analyst, check out updated How Do Black People Spend Their Money, the Racial Wealth Group. Now let's get into some scriptures. Okay? Check this out. Now, you may, you know, it's a shame that you will want your enemy, you know, to partake in our kingdom, you know, for you niggas out there. You know what I mean? That want to join hand in hand with the wicked. Scriptures tell you that though hand join in hand, the wicked should not be unpunished. Okay? So it's a shame that you will want them to have heaven on both sides. Understand that that money that they get, the money that they have, right, is off of your back, man. Okay? That's why when you go to Isaiah 14:21, it says, prepare slaughter for his children, because they have inheritance, man. I met a lady 4 days ago that got inheritance. She wake up, go to sleep. She ain't got to work. If she don't want, she works. But she doesn't have to work. This Edomite lady, she gets inheritance, man. And where do you think that inheritance come from? The inheritance comes off the backs of the Israelites, man. You know, the other nations are in cahoots with each other. Okay, check this out. Where was it at? Check this out. This Deuteronomy 28:43. It says, the stranger that is within thee, right, within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Okay? Understand that, man. And then when you know, you could tie that lending up with banks, man. You know, who owns the majority of the banks? Right? Esau does. Okay? They own the majority of the banks, man. We don't. Okay, we don't, man. Right? It says, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. And that's the curses. This is 45. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. Okay? Let me go some more. This is 48. It says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. You know? And if you look at that if you look at that, that actually happened. You know, the yoke around when we were in captivity, that hard bondage, that actually happened. You know? But going back to this article, right? This tells you, man, that, you know, and the reason why is the 6 hours in the black community is so mind blowing is because it wouldn't be as bad if we spent, you know, that dollar that circulates every 6 hours, if we spent it with each other. We don't spend it with each other. It just tells you 26 billion is recirculated out of 1.3 trillion in the so-called black community. 6 hours in the black community, they hold a dollar. We hold a dollar every 6 hours. So every 6 hours we spending a dollar. Okay? But we're not spending it with each other. Okay? We spending it with the other nations. That's why they come up. We're the number one consumer. We're the number one consumer and the lowest nation on the planet. Israelites. We're the number one consumers. And this is not just going towards the so-called black community. This is for the Latino. This is for the native. You know? This is not just going for us. I'm talking about Israel as a whole. It's not just going for the Southern Kingdom. I'm talking about Israel as a whole. Okay? We spend that money every 6 hours, and we spend it with these other nations. You know? Now check this out. 17 days in a white community. 17 days before a dollar is spent in a so-called white community. 20 days in a so-called Jewish community. 30 days in the so-called Asian community. Now check this out. Asians, right? So-called Jews, right? And so-called white people, they spend money with each other. That's why scriptures say they are. Man, let me get there real quick. I always get it, but I got to get it again for this one. I definitely got to get it again for this one. Right here. It says this Psalms 83:3. It says they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, "Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, and the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." Okay, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, all of them, and it names the heathens: Edom, Ishmaelites, Moab, Ammon, Amalek. And guess what? They all do business with each other. That's why scriptures tell you that the Arabians should no longer pitch tent there, man. Why do you think these other nations are gonna be like, when this place is destroyed? Because they know that the business that they have here is going to be destroyed. It's going to be no longer. And everything that y'all have, guess what? It's going right back to the rightful owners. And back to my point, that 6 hours in the so-called black community, we don't spend it with each other. We spend that money and make other nations rich. So every 6 hours, we're making another nation rich. And it's designed that way. Okay? We get a little bit of money, what we do? We shit on each other. We shit on each other, man. Let a nigga get $1 million and watch how he shit on his neighbor, and then spend a quarter of it with these other nations, right? But guess what? So-called whites don't do that. So-called Jewish don't do that. Jews don't do that, right? So-called Asians don't do that. They spend money with each other. They build businesses with each other. Okay, they in cahoots with each other. They benefit off the curses. It's a reason why we lack. If we spent money with each other, like if you had, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, right? And you had a company, right? And your brother or your neighbor, okay, got low on funds, and you spending money with your neighbor, he'll never be broke. And the reason why is because that dollar is circulating within the community. Okay? So it's not as bad if the dollar is circulating in the community. But guess what? It's not. It's circulating to these other nations. And they ain't spending no money, obviously. And when they do spend money, who they spending with? They spending with each other. They ain't cahoots. They are confederate, man. And it's set up that way. So you'll be a fool to want them to join hand in hand, to want them to partake in our kingdom in any joyous way. You be a fool, man. They got what's coming from. You can't have heaven on both sides, man. They're not finna do all this bloodshed, right? Have us in captivity, beat us down, put mental chains on us, so now we mentally my nation, Israel is some mental slaves now, which is the worst type of slave. Slave that don't even know he's a slave. That's the best type of servant for them, but it's the worst type of slave, man. They got a lot to pay for. Shit that we don't even know about, that they got to pay for, man. And anybody don't like it, you'll partake in that, in the ass whooping with them. 2/3. We do this for the 1/3 and the elect, man. The house of David is being built. Okay? Man, so with that, man, low willing videos, edifying, low willing IQ, got something for this video. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashimi, I was shot by Shem Kakwadash when you tell brothers keep pushing. I want to say shalom, Akim, stay up, shalom.